Hello everyone and welcome to the Redmen TV and your latest Liverpool news update show. I'm Ste, joined by Dan Club for this one, and we've got some bits to talk about. We've got injury news, injury updates and contract situations to chat through as well. Of course, those of you who are watching us live now on YouTube, welcome. Please do use the live chat. Same for our Redmen Plus Legends. Please use the Discord. Get yourselves involved in the show as Dan and I talk through things. Are you okay there?
Yeah.
Little cramp?
No, not cramp. No, I was doing some training over the weekend and I've cut. You see, just on like the joint of my finger there, I've got a little cut. So I'm just flexing it.
Flexing
it.
Yeah,
keeping it loose.
Yeah. Is that not bad for cut? Shouldn't?
No, it felt a little bit. It was hurting more. Now I've done that, it's better. So whatever.
Well, it worked. Whatever it was, it worked. Yeah, absolutely. Let's crack on with the show then.
I'm sure anyone needed to know that, but
no, it's fine.
I don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I just wonder what it was. I thought you were like doing Twinkle Twinkle or something.
All good.
Let's do some injury updates, Dan. Let's start with obviously the biggest injury that Liverpool have got at the moment. It's the goalkeeper. It's Alisson Becker. Obviously, we all saw what happened at the weekend. He limped out against Crystal Palace, hamstring. It is confirmed now. He has been withdrawn from the Brazil national squad. He's been replaced by Weverton, which sounds like Everton's bad guy. If it was Super Mario, Weverton would very much be Everton's bad guy. Now, if it's the opposite of Everton, I reckon Weverton wins everything.
Yeah, I bet it's always raining, whatever it is. Yeah.
But either way, Weverton is called. Alisson's out. Obviously, Arne Slot said a few weeks. They're talking maybe up to 8 weeks. It feels like Liverpool are going to be without the goalkeeper for. I mean, it could be up to anything in and around that busy Christmas period, which means he misses Real Madrid, he misses Man City, he misses Chelsea, he misses Arsenal. It's a significant injury at this one, and he's going to be out for a long time now. It looks like with Alisson.
Yeah, it's a massive blow, isn't it? We can all, praise Kevin Kelleher, rightfully so, but nobody compares to Alisson Becker. He is the best in the world at what he does. He's the very best in the business. He's saved us on multiple occasions, including the weekend whilst he was on the pitch, actually. So, yeah, I think when you factor the loss of him, coupled with, you've just touched upon there, the grueling fixture schedule that's to come further down the horizon, it's a huge blow to Liverpool. There's no two ways about it. And fingers crossed that the results of that scan aren't that significant and we can get him back sooner than potentially expected. The initial sort of timeline I heard was sort of after that next international break, which of course is sort of mid-November time, so that wouldn't be catastrophic, I don't think. But again, you're right, it could easily extend towards Christmas. And what's most concerning, we've all discussed Alisson Becker's injury problems. That is sort of the biggest red flag with Alisson Becker, isn't it? That is the biggest sort of cross against his name, the fact that he is injured far too often for a goalkeeper. And this, obviously being a hamstring, he was only out what feels like a fortnight ago with a bit of a hamstring complaint, a couple of issues around that when Keller had to deputise for a couple of games there as well. So if it's a recurrence of that, that's even more alarming really for Liverpool and just how severe this could be.
Virgil van Dijk, for those who didn't see the post-game content, I think it was on TNT Sports at the time, so they think it's the same injury that Alisson went in with.
Re-aggravated is even worse. Yeah.
So he felt something in Milan, didn't play against Bournemouth, missed obviously the League Cup game, which he wouldn't have played anyway. It feels like he's been nursing this one, and then finally it's just gone. So yeah, it's a long term, but yeah, he's out the international squad for Brazil, of course he is. Anyone who watched the videos of him limping out to Selhurst Park, we know Liverpool lost Alisson for 15 games in 1920. That was a calf. His calf went. He lost him for 15 games in a row. By the way, there's other games he missed, but in terms of what a long-term injury, he missed 15 last year with the issue we had again. It was hamstring, wasn't it? You're probably looking at the same again here, Dan. It's going to be the third instance where the guy misses almost a quarter of the games in a season, which for a goalkeeper who's been here not that long relatively, for it to be the third time that happens is there's a little pattern here.
Yeah, that's the only negative conversation we can have around Alisson Becker. Really, he does absolutely everything at the very highest level, apart from stay fit. It feels like, and be available. And again, a lot of people discussed why we signed Mamardashvili, or we are signing Mamardashvili, I should say, next summer. And this might be part and parcel of it. Alisson Becker doesn't have a perfect track record when it comes to his availability and his injuries and stuff like that. And he's only getting older. We often say, and rightfully so, by the way, that goalkeepers get better with age, like fine wine, aren't they, in that sense? But if the injury problems persist and maybe even get worse, Liverpool are right to be looking at who's the successor. So yeah, it's a huge blow, like I say. And as you mentioned there, whether it be 6, 8, 10 weeks, that is a big old chunk of games, because after this break now, it was thick and fast anyway, but that goes up a level. And again, it goes up a level in terms of the calibre of opposition. So, yeah, massive blow to Liverpool. We can just all keep our fingers, toes, etc. crossed that it's not as bad as potentially some are fearing.
Yeah, Luke here in the live chat said after the season, do you reckon we should move on from Ali being number one? He's too injury prone to rely on now. And this is the difficult question. I think Liverpool have, unless Mamardashvili's been told he's going to be back up to Alisson for a year before Alisson leaves, which could be a possibility. It could be, listen, have a year out with Valencia, we'll sell Keeve in the summer and you can come in and you'll back up Ali and then you'll take over his job. We don't know the conversations that have happened, but Liverpool have spent a significant fee on a goalkeeper who is going to be Liverpool's number one goalkeeper at some point. And this is the reason I think they've done it, Dan. So is this summer the time to do it? It might have to be, because we have, in my opinion, we've got the best goalkeeper on the planet. I'm convinced we have. No one will argue. I won't let no one convince me otherwise, I should say. But if he can't play, you know, your best ability is your availability, all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be shocked if that is Liverpool's plan, actually. They let Alisson go in the summer. He can kind of choose where he wants. He's under contract, so they'll get a bit of a transfer fee for him. And then they shake hands and move on to this big giant Georgian fella, and everyone's relatively comfortable with it. I feel that's where we're heading.
Possibly, yeah. And again, this injury will sort of exacerbate that conversation, won't it? And I think more people will come around to that way of thinking because he's currently sidelined. And who knows, you know, if he picks up another one, God forbid he doesn't later on the season, then again, that conversation comes back around. I still see it more the case of what you said initially, the fact that he'll come in next summer, Mamardashvili, they've identified him for a reason. That's to be the successor to Alisson Becker, not necessarily replacement. And by that, I mean, Alisson Becker sticks around next season. Mamardashvili gets sort of the Kelleher games, if you like, the cup games and stuff like that, and just learns his trade a little bit and understands what it's like to be Liverpool's goalkeeper as first choice. And again, you know, there's nobody better to teach you than Alisson Becker. Obviously, Tafarel still be in the building as well, you'd imagine by then. So there's a lot in his game, Mamardashvili. He's seemingly destined to be in around that conversation for best in the world, like we say, with Ali. But I think there's a lot more to be developed for him to get there. And there's no better way of doing that than just being an understudy to Alisson Becker for a little bit and seeing what he does, seeing how he goes about his business in training, off the pitch, on the pitch, etc. So that would be my ideal timeline. But again, if Alisson Becker picks up another problem or he's out for best part of 2 months now, I'm certain people will say, right, the time is now to move on. But what sort of fee are you going to get for him? There was Saudi interest, wasn't there, in the summer? If that came back around, maybe Liverpool would look to maybe cash in on him, but I wouldn't be doing that just yet, no. Not for me.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, but I wouldn't be screaming out for it. My ideal would be actually bring Mamardashvili in the summer, let Kelleher go, have Mamardashvili being the backup for a year.
Absolutely.
But we'll see what
just sorry to jump in there, but like also he's coming from Spain, a very different environment. He doesn't know. That's why the Bournemouth loan for a little bit, which is muted, made a bit of sense because he could learn the Premier League, learn the intensity of it, what it's like to be a goalie in the Premier League. So to throw him in the deep end a little bit, and listen, he could swim, we could all be laughing, but to go from Alisson Becker to an unknown, unproven quantity in Mamardashvili would be a big old leap from Liverpool. So again, I'd be keeping Alisson around for at least that extra season personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree. Right then, the next one we need to speak about is Alexis Mac Allister, as Paul Gorst of the Liverpool Echo has reported. Alexis Mac Allister is currently in Miami to join up with the Argentina squad for their World Cup qualifiers with Venezuela and Bolivia. He had initially been a doubt after a growing problem saw him last just 45 minutes at Crystal Palace on Saturday lunchtime. So Alexis hobbled off, was taken off at half-time. I think Arne Slot said they spoke and he felt it was an issue and he didn't want to make it worse, so he took him off. Liverpool obviously had Szoboszlai on the bench, so they were more than comfortable to do it. It feels like Alexis is another one, Dan, who's been playing through something for a while, since the last international break really, or even before it. I think it all started in that Man United game. He got a whack off Casemiro, and I don't know if that was related, but since then he's had this hip adductor issue, and he feels like something's been going on. Obviously, now it was his groin. Listen, we're Liverpool supporters, we're not Argentinian, we don't really care if Argentina do well against Venezuela or Bolivia or not. We just want Alexis Mac Allister fit and firing. But he's obviously clearly committed to his country. They're in the best moment they've been in for a long time. World champions, Copa champions, he wants to go and play. I understand that, but yeah, it's always a worry because this happened last time. He didn't start, but then he comes off the bench. It feels like they're not going to look after him per se. They're not going to do Liverpool any favours for competitive games. you're waiting with bated breath here because he's clearly not 100%.
No, far from it, I think. You said it there in the last international break. I think I might say he missed a training session or two in the build-up to that second match, and it felt as though the writing was on the wall that he wouldn't be involved at all. And you wake up in the morning, as it is here, obviously with them playing over in South America, and you see that he came on, and you're like, why has he done that? Like, he's clearly been nursed through something. There's clearly something not right there. And then obviously he comes back to us and he plays nigh on every minute, apart from coming off the weekend, of course. And he's always in the thick of the action, isn't he? Whether it be muscular, whether it be strains and pulls and that sort of thing, or whether it be actual bumps and bruises, because I feel like he gets kicked to bits most games, really, Alexis Mac Allister. And that's testament to the type of player that he is. Obviously got bags and bags of quality, but he also gets stuck in and doesn't mind being that guy as well. So yeah, he's one who is a bit of a concern to me at the moment when it comes to the injury and the fitness front, I would say, because there's been these sort of reports now for a little while, and he comes off at half-time. Initially, I thought it might be the yellow card that he picked up at the weekend,
yeah, same.
But then it was confirmed, obviously, afterwards that it was, and that he is just struggling with something. So yeah, I'm really worried about this and the fact he's gone to Miami and he's meeting up with the Argentina squad. It's almost as if the Argentina medical team don't trust Liverpool's medical team and you want to get their own sort of version of events, if you like. But fingers crossed, this one, the ideal scenario out of this one, I guess, is that they do scan him or whatever. They understand there is something small going on there. They send him back to Liverpool. He can have 2 weeks with his feet up, just resting and recuperating, because no two ways about it. Like, talk about importance of player. Alexis Mac Allister is right up there in the top bracket of sort of top 3, 4, 5 for Liverpool at the moment. So yeah, him playing, I know the Argentina thing is the Argentina thing, whatever, but surely the betterment for Argentina is to get the best version of Alexis Mac Allister next time they want him. You know what I mean? Not play him now, risk another potential problem or aggravating something else. So yeah, hopefully sense can prevail here and he doesn't play at all over the break, because he needs a rest probably more than most, I would say, in this Liverpool squad.
Absolutely, we'll keep an eye on him. Another player then who is going, it looks like, to play in those World Cup qualifiers in South America is Darwin Nunez. So according to a report from ESPN Uruguay, which has kindly been translated by Joanna Durkin over at This Is Anfield, Darwin Nunez is allowed to play in the upcoming games against Peru and Ecuador for Uruguay. He was given a ban after the scenes that happened in this, well, he threw a chair or someone, he jumped in the crowd, he was webbing people. Yeah, it was all kicking off, wasn't it, in that game. However, after initially being given that, it was a 5-game ban, I think I'm right saying. The Uruguayan National FA took the decision to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So while that process is taking place, Darwin Nunez is now allowed to play. So if the ban gets upheld, he'll miss further games down the line. But basically, while they're arguing the toss, he's allowed to play until he's not done. So we thought Darwin was going to have a nice bit of time off. It looks like he's going to be playing against Peru and Ecuador. And I'll be honest, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, same.
Because I think he needs the games, and I think he always does well for Uruguay. Again, you're always worried about injuries, don't get me wrong, but he is one who actually could probably do with a little bit of footy, and like I say, the confidence of going to Uruguay, where he's done quite well recently. That
second point is the one for me personally, I must admit, mate. Like, yeah, absolutely. I think you're right in terms of the minutes or the lack of minutes he's had at Liverpool. Suggests he could do a bit of footy, and maybe some sort of energy in the tank might do him some good when he comes back for the Reds. But yeah, I think that morale boost he could potentially get off the back of this. A, being allowed to play for his national team again, which he clearly absolutely adores doing. But B, if he is to get a goal, you know, win a couple of games for his country as well. Obviously, Bielsa seems to be getting a tune out of him whenever he does play for Uruguay as well. So yeah, I actually don't see this being the worst thing in the world. Now again, you're waiting with bated breath to make sure no one gets injured, there's no problems arising from it and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there's another ideal scenario here whereby Darwin Nunez goes away, plays 180 minutes, whatever it may be, gets a goal or two, wins a game for his country maybe, comes back, and you might get yourself the best or new and improved version of Darwin Nunez, who knows? Yeah, absolutely. So their game, they've changed the schedule recently with the South American game, so they play early Wednesday morning UK time, so they should be home. You'd imagine Thursday for the UK, so they get, because it used to be like back in the country like 24 hours and playing. So if they come back on the Thursday, of course Liverpool's first game back after the break's on the Sunday, so they're giving themselves 3 or 4 days there. So all being well, that's what I'm saying. If it was like fly home on the Thursday night into Friday and you're playing Saturday, that's when it can be a killer. But this is why I think it could work out to touch wood for Darwin. He stays fit, and if that happens, because you're right, I think he just could do with the run. I think he's a player who just needs to play. Yeah. And he's always done well for Uruguay. I think there's no Luis Suarez anymore. Obviously, he's retired. Obviously, he's the main man almost now. There's a couple of decent squad, but I think in terms of strikers, he's probably, certainly age-wise, he's the main guy, isn't he, at the moment?
Absolutely. So yeah, keep an eye out on the Copa America. The South American World Cup qualifiers, because there's going to be lots of Liverpool involvement. A couple of players, of course, Luis Diaz as well. Right then, let's move on to some contract talk again. I will use the guys at This Is Anfield as my reference point for this one. They've collaborated with basically a lot of reports from the beat that both Liverpool have opened talks down with Ibou Konate and Jarell Quansah about contracts. The latest, let's start with Quansah then first. The latest on Jarell Quansah from Sky Sports in the UK actually is that it's all agreed. He's agreed terms on a 5-year deal. It's all done and dusted. They're just waiting for the correct time to announce whenever that's going to be, which I imagine it could be any time from today, obviously, onwards. I think Jarell goes to join with the under 21 soon, doesn't he? I'm right in saying, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they might want to get that done sooner rather than later. Interesting because, again, this is all caveated. We know there are other contracts to sort. We're not ignoring that. We're going to speak about that, guys, in a moment. Don't get me wrong. But the Jarell Quansah story is fascinating. I had Paul Gorst, obviously, here last week on Journal Insight, and he said, like, people at Liverpool were surprised with the Jarell Quansah rise. Like, he wasn't one who they were just tipping straight away to be this. Like, they thought he was a good young player, but they never thought he was going to be Liverpool first team option. He made himself that. He was first choice at times last year. He's probably first back up now. I'm guessing it feels like he's above Joe Gomez in the pecking order for that centre-back position. But, I mean, fair play to Jarell Quansah. These are the type of things that an academy can save your football club a lot of money. And by not having to go out and spend a ton of money on to replace Joel Matip, maybe they've had allocations or resources to spend elsewhere. But fair play to Jarell Quansah, who's more than earned himself a new deal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And what's interesting about that is you said it there, Liverpool weren't necessarily expecting, obviously you always hope that any young player will emerge and be the answer to some problem somewhere in the squad, and Jarell Quansah's definitely done that and some more. I think it's fair to say, although obviously his recent form appearances don't suggest that, but he's been absolutely outstanding whether he has played for Liverpool Football Club. But I think the loan move he made initially lends itself to what you're saying here, because Bristol Rovers, with all due respect, isn't a loan move that somebody gets when they're about to break into Liverpool's first team. It's more of a stepping stone. Go and get yourself some minutes at Bristol. I think it might have been 15 games he played the back end of that season in League One, and then you go spend the year in the Championship. But his pre-season was so exceptional on the back of that Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp just had to take a closer look at him, and obviously the rest is history, really. So yeah, he's forged himself an incredible career at Liverpool Football Club, and he's done it by ability, applying himself, character, attitude, all that good stuff, but ultimately, above anything else, just his form. Whenever he's played, he's been absolutely brilliant, and he deserves this new deal, because obviously he'll still be on his academy sort of wages, I would imagine. Obviously yet to have sort of a senior contract, if you like, in Liverpool terms. So yeah, more than ready for a new contract, I think, Jarell.
And I suppose as well, it's worth mentioning, we caveat this around what else is happening with other deals that have been left longer. It feels like Liverpool are learning their lessons. I say this with Konate as well. He's going to get down to a couple of years left on his deal. Liverpool don't want to be in a position. They're in this position now with Trent, with Van Dijk and with Salah. Obviously all slightly different age profiles than the guys we're talking about. They don't want to get in that situation again. Like, that was another regime. This is a new regime. They've inherited that last problem, for lack of a better phrase, and they've identified here, we don't want Ibou Konate going into last year. We don't want Jarell Quansah. We probably want to reward him anyway for his value in the squad now. It's good. It's nice to see them being proactive. They've been proactive with the goalkeeper signing. This is another sign that they're trying to be a bit proactive, whilst also balancing the fact that there's a lot of other things that need to be done as well. Yeah,
the last thing you want is a repeat of what's going on right now, isn't it, ultimately? Yeah, so I do think it's smart for Liverpool on the Quansah and Konate front, to be honest with you. And again, both deserving of it. We'll touch on Konate in more detail in a minute, of course, but I don't think he's had a new deal since he arrived, so he's still on his first Liverpool contract as well. So yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, obviously. And with Quansah, obviously, at the minute, he's not probably playing the football that he would like. We know there was a passing interest in Newcastle in and around the Anthony Gordon stuff at the weekend. So you want to protect him and what's best for him and his value to the club as well. And you want to reward him as such. So yeah, it makes a sense for so many reasons, none more so than what you just said there. You don't want any player who's key to the squad getting even sort of 24 months out from their deal. I think that is the tipping point for me. The minute you get into the final 24, definitely 18 months, you've got a problem on your hands. And unfortunately, Liverpool have got too many problems on their hands, but this in itself, in isolation, is smart.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, we're just the announcement of Jarell Quansah's new deal as apparently imminent, and we'll keep an eye on what happens with Ibou Konate as well, who's Liverpool open talks. I think fantastic, both news. So the talks with Quansah are done by all accounts. According to the Echo, the talks with Konate are only at the preliminary stage, but both parties are keen to extend their relationship. I think we can see that from Ibou. He looks made up to be He looks made up to be back fit, firing, playing, first choice. And he's been one of Liverpool's stand-up players again this season. He had one little brain fart at Wolves. We'll forgive him that one, because for the most part, Dan, he's been fantastic since he arrived. Well, since he came in at half-time against Wolves.
Yeah, Ipswich, yeah. No, absolutely, he has, yeah. And he's warranting some of the praise that we've given him down the years at the moment. I think it's fair to say we've all, and I've said this a few times on different shows, so forgive me if you're hearing this again, but like, he has been sort of suggested that he could be in the bracket of best defenders in the world. In various different times by Liverpool fans, and he hasn't really lived up to that, it feels like, for prolonged periods. But right now he's certainly one of the best defenders in the Premier League. You know, him and Virgil van Dijk have been nigh on rock solid at the back. It feels like a proper partnership's formed there. And finally, in a way, because Konate has every single thing it takes to be in that conversation. It's just whether it's been fitness, the odd bit of, you said it there, brain farts going on. It feels like his game's changed a little bit. He's more mature as a defender now, which I guess comes with age and experience a little bit, but he's definitely changed the way he's going about his football under Arne Slot. He's not quite as active in terms of trying to put fires out left, right and centre. He's not rushing into things. So yeah, he is the very best version of himself. It feels like he's at the peak of his powers right now. And again, 25, that is a perfect age profile for anybody. So Liverpool are wise to tie somebody down of that quality, that age, to a very long-term contract, just to fend off any potential interest anyway. I think he's 2026, his current deal as well, so yes, the perfect time for him.
Lessons learned, because the last one, again, there's nothing new to report other than the fact that, again, it's been reported in the Liverpool Echo. Liverpool are still in negotiations with all three of Alexander-Arnold, Mo Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold, which is interesting, Dan, because there's been a school of thought, not by me, but by some, that Liverpool will just be quite happy to let some of these guys go. I remember Mo Salah came out, didn't he, after the Man United game, was like, there's been no contact. Well, the Echo report now, Liverpool are in negotiations with all three. Mm-hmm. So Liverpool seemingly want to keep them. Or this isn't a case where they're happy to let, they were happy to let Roberto Firmino just go. Yeah. They were happy to let Gini Wijnaldum go, it was like, see you later. Mm-hmm. James Milner was another one. I think he found out, like, someone messaged him and was like, yeah, we're going to announce that you're leaving, kind of thing. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain said the same at the time. Yeah. He was like, the club messaged me and said, oh yeah, we're just going to announce that you're leaving. He was like, no one's told me. Oh, I sound like, in this situation, like, they clearly want to keep all these three. It's just whether they can get the deals done. It feels like not.
Yeah, and that's right. For me, you have the conversations with all three of them. That's what was so mind-boggling when Salah came out with those comments. Virgil van Dijk did similar a few weeks earlier. I think maybe the pre-season game, that double-header at Anfield. He said something similar to Paul Gust. So yeah, that's what was so confusing about that. But Liverpool need to, at the very bare minimum, have conversations with all three of them. Now, whether you can actually thrash out a deal thereafter, that remains to be seen. There's no, for me, my opinion, the Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah ones are complicated. Not only because the importance of the sides, obviously it's clear to see to all of us, but the age profile makes it really tricky for me. Wherever Trent Alexander-Arnold's a different case altogether. You almost treat him in isolation. You just deal with him, and then the rest will take care of itself. It won't, a little bit, for my money. But yeah, it's good to hear that Liverpool are still talking to all three of them, because you've got to find out. And if there is a way you can make the finances bend and flex enough, you keep all three of them, whether it be for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. You have to at least try, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it looks like Liverpool are doing that. Can I ask you a question that's been bubbling around in my mind for a while?
You smiled then, so I thought you might do. Go on.
This might get me in trouble on the internet, and I'm just asking the question, don't shoot a messenger, all that kind of stuff. Can any football team in the world have their right back as their highest paid player?
Yeah, Liverpool.
They can.
When he's Trent Alexander-Arnold, yeah. I'm
just thinking, do you reckon that's ever happened before when the right back has been the highest paid player? Because I'm guessing that's the precedent that Liverpool might be. I'm just thinking, if Liverpool are worried about something, is it, if we pay our right back 300 grand a week or whatever, what do we have to pay the goal scorer who scores 40 goals? Or what do we have to pay the centre mid who gets 20 assists? I'm just wondering. Feel free, by the way, if you're watching this live, guys, do any teams ever have their right back as their best paid player? Because, listen, I agree, Liverpool, I want Trent to stay, do not get me wrong. I'm just thinking, I wonder what they're thinking, because you're now setting the precedent. Whatever they set Trent, if he is going to be one of, if not the highest paid players, the next guy and the next guy and the next guy have got every right to say, well, I want that plus. You know what I mean?
I get that, but then if you just caveat it and sort of factor in that he is Mr. Liverpool and should be for the next decade, in my opinion. He's vice captain of the football club, and he's so much more than the right back as well. You are right, obviously he is a right back, and what does that look like? I don't think, for what it's worth, I don't think it's ever happened in the history of football. Like Cafu, maybe maybe at one point, who knows, but then they had such a myriad of stars.
And Cafu was on decent
time. Yeah, the others also spring to mind immediately as well. So yeah, it's difficult. Dani Alves maybe for a little bit, but then he came back and got paid like £1 a week, didn't he, at Barca, so I'm not sure. No, probably not, is the answer to the original question. But again, it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. He is so much more than right back to Liverpool, not just in a positional sense and what he brings to the side, but who he is as a person, who he is as a human being, like what he means to the club. He's ever apparent to the captaincy as well. So whoever is that person that comes to the club, whether it be in 12 months' time, 18 months' time, whatever, and says, I want X, Y, Z because Trent's on X, Y, Z. You then just say, if you're Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, whoever, you just go, well, hang on a minute. Yes, he's a right back, but look at this as well. He's been here since he was 8 years old or whatever the hell it is. He's come through the ranks, he's boiled red. He lives and breathes his football club. We live and breathe him. We've rewarded him in such a way because of this catalogue of things that he's done on his CV. That should immediately tell whoever you're talking to, there, oh yeah, fair enough. You know what I mean? It's not just about the pure numbers, the fact that I'm a goal scorer, I'm midfield or whatever. Positions are one thing, but what you mean and what you can mean to a football club is a whole different ball game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, because obviously Liverpool, if they're going to be analytic about all this, which we know they are going to be, I wonder if that's a conversation.
Mine's based on emotion. You are right.
Yeah, Red Swan says here maybe Philip Lahm would. Yeah, I'm sure Bayern were paying Phil Lahm a lot of money. They had a lot of high-paid players, of course, Bayern Munich at the time, but yeah, he would have certainly been in that bracket. I think Neuer was very high. Or still is very well paid by Bayern Munich, so you're probably right. Like JD says, Trent isn't just a standard right back. I completely agree. I'm just wondering. It's an interesting one. It's just a thing. Like if he gets the money that if Van Dijk and Salah do leave, Trent will be the highest paid player if he stays. And then you don't really hear of that being a thing. Your best paid players are usually your strikers, your midfielders, your centre.
I wonder whether that's but I wonder whether that's going out of the game a little bit, maybe. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm not, because goalkeepers are coming, and DMs, maybe a DM. Your DM might be the highest paid player soon. You know what I mean? Because that's how important that role is becoming in modern football. So I wonder whether he gets paid all the dough because he puts the ball in the back of the net is just slowly but surely getting phased out, and Trent might be one of the first to really book that trend. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I say, Trent, he's got an assist every 3 games or something. He is very much isn't. But I just think, like I say, if Trent, say they paid Trent $300,000 a week, what does Mo Salah go, hang on a minute, I score 50 goals every year.
Well, there's that highest paid earner clause that often exists. It might be a very footy manager thing, forgive me, but that is something. And I wonder whether all 3 of these could realistically go to the club and say, I want to be that. And you might have to put them all on the same wage as a result. But there's no 2 ways about it. All 3 of them warrant that sort of hierarchy when it comes to the money and the finances around it. So it's not an easy one, and I've got a little bit of sympathy, and people might hate me on the internet for this, a little bit of sympathy for Richard Hughes in this.
He walked into this
because he's inherited this situation. And don't get me wrong, I would have loved nothing more to him if he resolved it 2, 3, 4 months ago, whatever. But we are where we are now, and if he can get 2 of them, ideally 3 of them over the line, happy days.
Yeah, like I said, the replicator says if they sorted Trent's contract out earlier, it was unlikely he would have cost $300,000 a week. We don't know that. We never know what he's wanted, but also, like I say, it is a different sporting setup. The owners of the football club ultimately stay the same, so obviously you're right in that sense, but like Michael Edwards wasn't here, and then he was here, and then he's gone, and Klopp and Schmadke are in, and then they've gone, and then it's been a bit of a mess, hasn't it?
It has, just on the Schmadke thing, and I don't want to talk down on the fella, because he actually does some decent business for us. Obviously, mine, Gravenberch, reaping the rewards of that particular time. Yeah, but he wasn't. It was really bad timing with the contract things going on. He was never likely to sort out those contracts. You know what I mean?
He was there for the summer business.
Exactly. So he was never going to resolve these contract issues. So we had, what was it, an 8-9 month period of Jörg Schmadke. I might be inaccurate on my dates there. But that's a big old chunk of time whereby those 3 contracts have just continued to dwindle, and now we are where we are. Not because of it, but it definitely hasn't helped.
Absolutely. And then the manager leaves.
Yes, also true.
And obviously
there's that period where we don't know who the sporting director is going to be as well.
It's been chaos, it hasn't. That's how it ended up here, which is, again, it's good news why they're doing the Quansah thing, why they're doing the Konate, because hopefully they've learned the lesson. This new regime has inherited a massive issue, 3 massive issues, and they're trying to future-proof themselves. Floriat, with the important question, what did you do to your finger?
Oh, I was literally boxing Not like I wasn't scrapping at the weekend. Like I was literally boxing. Yeah, 12 rounds on Sunday morning.
You wrap your fingers.
No, bad, nothing bad. Like, literally tiny. I was doing it again this morning, but just aggravated it a little bit, as you can expect.
There you go. Dan's
like a day out, probably. So
punch bags or pads, or what was you doing?
No, yeah, punch bags.
Bags, yeah. I'll teach you how to punch later, mate. I'll show you the proper technique so you don't hurt your hand.
It was like the 12th round. I was starting to flag a little bit.
The bag got a few shots in.
Certainly you could go on the window by that point. I was flailing.
Windmilling into this bag.
AJ in the fourth I was against
MK with the final question before we go says, how worried are we? And I'm guessing that's on all contracts. I think Salah and Van Dijk get done. I've changed my mind on this. I don't know about Alexander-Arnold anymore. I think this Danny Carvajal thing at the weekend is massive. Danny Carvajal basically blew his knee up. He's done ACL, is it ECL?
Yeah,
and what? I can't remember. Is ECL a thing? Exterior cruciate, that's what I read. And he's done his tendons as well. Like Danny Carvajal's knee is an absolute mess. That is another concern. That Real Madrid, although the talk with Trent was it's an opportunistic sign if we get it. Now they might need a right back, like forever, because his knee's in a bad way. That makes me worry, and also the money situation, and obviously that. So I think Van Dijk and Salah stay and get done. I am 50-50 with Trent at best, and if I had to edge towards, I'd probably be edging more towards being more worried about it than not. That's where I'm at right now as of today.
And that fear is justified, isn't it? And I get more worried, seemingly, as the days go on with this one. But like you say, that news over the weekend about Carvajal, the timing couldn't have been much worse, because we're already starting to fear that Trent moves on next summer and then their right back gets injured. It's like, oh, come on. And it's a proper injury as well, like you say. So, yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah, it's a bad one. It's not for me, that. The
old extended knees.
Anything like that's not for me.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Yeah, so where I'm at, I think one of Van Dijk and Salah leave, actually.
Okay.
I don't think they both get done. And I'd love them to. I would absolutely love them to. But I think we keep Trent. But again, I am starting to get more and more concerned about that with every single day, because it just feels like such a no-brainer. And you could argue that they all are, but I've said this numerous times now, I'd put Trent some way clear in terms of my priorities. Yep. I'd have get Trent boxed and then deal with the rest later. Get Trent and just keep plugging away at that, because yes, I want all three of them to stay in the ideal world, but you cannot allow Trent Alexander-Arnold to walk out the football club for free. It would be catastrophic, might be catastrophising it a little bit, but it's not good. No, it's a really, really, really poor look. So I still think we get Trent over the line, but then one of the other two fall by the wayside because of what we've had to do to get Trent over the line.
Yeah. And they got the replicator. You can't let I'll be the best right back in the world to leave you free. It's bonkers. Like, it isn't Liverpool's choice. It's Trent's choice now. I agree. You're right. I completely agree. But we've had this conversation before. Yeah. Like Liverpool have got Liverpool. All Liverpool can do is make him an offer. If he just wants to go to Real Madrid,
that's the thing.
We don't know where Trent's at.
No.
But like,
what I would say on that is, you are right. Cause if he wants to go, if his heart's set on going, nothing Liverpool can do about it. But if there's something that he wants, Liverpool have to make that happen. Not that isn't Real Madrid, obviously. If it's something that he wants in terms of staying at the football club, Liverpool almost have to make that. If it's the captaincy, that's a really tricky one. But then Virgil van Dijk's contract comes into this as well. That's tricky. Outside of that, I don't think anything's out of the realms of possibility. You just have to make him happy enough to stay, which sounds crazy because you shouldn't really move the parameters for anybody. But for Trent, I'd be willing to make an exception personally.
It'll be interesting to see how it all goes, because Trent holds all the cards in this situation. Now, that's what happens when you don't get deals done. Sometimes the players end up with all the chips, because it's not like no one's going to want them. It isn't like a player coming out of contract looking for a club. In January, Trent's phone will be ringing off the hook, or his agent's phone will be ringing off the hook, and the first number probably comes from Spain with the Madrid code on it, and it probably wouldn't be followed with a Parisian code, and a Manchester code, God forbid, and a Qatari code and a Saudi code. Like, Trent will not be short of offers. So yeah, Liverpool are in those situations. Hopefully they're going to avoid being in these situations in the future, like I say, with the Quansah and Konate deals, proving that they have got their eye on the future. But yeah, like MK says, there is a time to be worried. I think it's not time to not be worried. I think everyone, it's nagging away at everybody. Fingers crossed we get some movement on it soon. But like I say, we're as much in the dark as you guys are. Dan, thanks very much. Hope the finger heals shortly. I mean, I'm looking at it now. I think you've over exaggerated, to be honest. I think
it exists, is what I'd say. There's definitely, and it's just
I'm a yard away from you, and I can barely see it.
But it's in a really awkward place.
It's on your knuckle, yeah. I can see it's on the crease of your knuckle. No, yeah, listen, I'm worried for you.
Thanks, mate.
you get your scan. Dan will be back after the international break, taking 3 weeks off. Yeah. We'll be back later, guys. So stick around on the YouTube channel from 2 p.m. in this very studio, less than an hour away. The Redmen Originals podcast. Paul and Chloe, along with Dan and myself. No Chris this week. Chris, I was having a couple of well-earned days off. He's probably sleeping the hangover off from the ridiculous amount of alcohol he drank at the NFL London yesterday, which was quite an experience with Chrissy P. So yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, check out the originals, see you all soon.